She's been in jail for the past 5 days. Today, Rowan County Clerk Kim Davis is a free woman. We're live from the Carter County Jail with team coverage of her release.
Davis's attorneys have claimed marriage licenses issued while she was in jail are not legal. Today, Governor Beshear weighed in on the issue. Hear what he had to say.
Police say a convicted drug dealer was back to his old tricks, where they say most of his deals were taking place.
Tracking, alerting, protecting. This is WKYT News at 5:30.
There has been a major development today attracting national attention in the story of the Rowan County Clerk. She was jailed last week over her refusal to issue marriage licenses.
Judge David Bunning ordered Kim Davis to be released from jail earlier this afternoon, but that release comes with some conditions. WKYT's Victor Puente begins our breaking news team coverage live from Carter County. Victor?
The hundreds of people gathered here in Grayson were demanding for Kim Davis to be released. Around 2:30, they got their wish. Federal Judge David Bunning issued an order saying he would release Davis, who was in jail being held for contempt. He also said she could return to work as long as she didn't interfere with the 5 Rowan County clerks who said they would issue same-sex marriage licenses. Before her release, presidential candidates Mike Huckabee and Ted Cruz both visited her in jail. After she was out, her attorney and Huckabee spoke, but Davis stayed silent until later, eventually speaking at a rally held in her honor. Her attorney said despite being released, they still had some big issues.
The court order did not resolve the underlying issue, and that issue is Kim Davis has asked for a very simple accommodation. Remove her name and her authority from the marriage certificates, and that's what we've asked from the very beginning.
Staver said Davis planned to return home tonight to spend some time with her family. He said she would return to work soon. He also said she still wouldn't betray her conscience. Live in Carter County, Victor Puente, WKYT.
Judge Bunning is requiring status checks every 14 days to make sure the Rowan County Clerk's office is still issuing those licenses. Just after Davis walked out of jail, a massive rally was held in support of her in the parking lot of the detention center. From Sky First, you can certainly see hundreds of people packed into that parking lot. Speakers included fellow clerks and political candidates, and it ended with Davis taking the stage.
I just want to give God the glory. His people have rallied, and you are a strong people.
Davis was visibly overcome with emotions while on stage. She walked off shortly after those comments.
What does Kentucky's Governor Steve Beshear have to say about Kim Davis being released from jail this afternoon? Jennifer Palumbo's at the live desk with the governor's reaction. Jennifer?
Sam, Governor Beshear told us he took no joy in the fact that Kim Davis was in jail, and it was a matter between Davis and Judge Bunning. Davis's attorney claims marriage licenses issued by her deputy clerks while she was in jail are not legal because her signature isn't on them. And the governor says those marriages are legal.
Our tax department is already recognizing marriages of same-sex couples because the Supreme Court said that we should. We're changing all of those kinds of law. The federal government is going to recognize it. So I think that really is kind of meaningless at this point. These folks got a license, they got married, and that's that.
We caught up with the governor in Lexington this afternoon. We also asked him about the possibility of changing the law so county clerks don't issue marriage licenses. He said when lawmakers meet in January, they may look at changing the process, but he cannot do that. Beshear also reiterated he will not call a special session, saying it would be a waste of taxpayer money, with 117 out of 120 clerks complying with the law. At the live desk, Jennifer Palumbo, WKYT.
Thank you, Jennifer. Governor Beshear also said he hopes the state can move forward and focus on issues that affect the future of Kentucky. We have complete coverage of Kim Davis being released today from jail on WKYT.com.
It has been another steamy day here in the Bluegrass, but could changes be on the way? Chief Meteorologist Chris Bailey has an early look at your forecast.
Yeah, we've got some big-time changes rolling in over the next several days. When you've been as steamy and as sizzling as what we've had so far in September, it can only get cooler, and it's going to get a lot cooler by the weekend. Downright chilly, as a matter of fact. Looking out across Hamburg Pavilion, we're trying to bubble up a little shower thunderstorm here on our live sky cam. That is the smallest looking little base of a shower that you will ever see, and that's trying to bubble up. Upper 80s to around 90 into much of the area. Though we look at Defender, surrender as of now, and nothing is really out there in the parts of the Bluegrass region. Southeastern Kentucky, you got to really kind of lean into the TV to focus on 1 or 2 isolated showers, parts of Breathitt County, and we'll see a few of those popping across the Lexington metro as well, as clouds are definitely increasing now across central Kentucky. Cold front to our west does have a lot of moisture with it. That'll be in here as we go into the day tomorrow. So you see all those showers and storms now from Michigan back through Chicago toward sections of Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri. All of that stuff is on top of central and eastern Kentucky heading into the day tomorrow. We need the rain. Storms are going to crank up, and we will get some rain over the next few days. And then we roll toward the weekend, and another cold front is right on top of the region. Guys, jet stream going to take a big dip into the eastern part of the country this weekend. When the jet stream dips, that says chilly air comes in from Canada. We'll show you what we mean by that when I come back here in just a few.
Police say a convicted drug dealer was back to his old tricks near a large school in southern Kentucky. Sheriff's deputies arrested Larry Helton at his home in Laurel County and were told that drugs and a weapon were found nearby. As WKYT's Phil Pendleton tells us in this Crime Track report, police say Helton's deals took place within sight of one of the largest elementary schools in the county.
The man police arrested, 37-year-old Larry Helton, is now in jail facing numerous drug offenses in addition to a weapons charge. People tell me that it's very disturbing where his home is and how close to children he would have been able to get.
We received an anonymous tip that a man was growing marijuana on his property.
Police say when they showed up, they did in fact find both marijuana inside and outside the home, along with a shotgun and shotgun shells, all in sight of an elementary school.
I think that's a powerful combination. He's a convicted felon. He's possessing a firearm there. He's selling drugs, obviously, out of his residence.
Materials to make marijuana transactions and evidence of drug deals were allegedly found throughout the trailer. Neighbors say they saw a lot of traffic around the home. While not wanting to talk on camera, they say they're glad Helton is in jail.
And, you know, we're so concerned in today's world, as we should be, about school safety. This is definitely a school safety issue.
Police say Helton was both growing the marijuana and selling it. They say they confiscated digital scales, baggies, and more than 8 ounces of processed pot.
Well, I mean, a drug is a drug. It's the law, and we're enforcing the laws as they are right now. It's a violation.
We asked if Larry Helton wanted to give his side of the story from inside the jail, but he declined. In Laurel County, Phil Pendleton, WKYT.
Police tell us that Helton was convicted of drug offenses in 2003 and 2007. Because he's a convicted felon, he was not supposed to have a firearm.
Police are investigating after a 7-week-old was found unresponsive inside a home with black mold and drugs. Our county-by-county coverage begins in Barron County. When police got to the home in Cave City, they say the child wasn't breathing. The infant was taken to a Louisville hospital. No condition has been released. Police searched the home and found an extensive marijuana growing operation as well as black mold. Chad Lewis was arrested and charged with endangering the welfare of a minor. He also faces several drug charges. Lewis's relationship to that child has not been released. In Madison County, a hotel manager in Richmond wants to know if a robbery at his business is connected to a string of hotel robberies in Danville. The manager at the Best Western in Richmond says when he heard the suspect description for 3 robberies in Danville, it was identical to the description of the man who tried to steal from his clerk just last week. Richmond police say after learning about the Danville robberies, they're looking into a possible connection. And in Nelson County, a man was arrested after police say he assaulted a Kroger loss prevention officer after being confronted for shoplifting. Police say Nicholas Gorsica caused a scene after he was confronted for trying to steal batteries. He was found a short time later hiding under a vehicle at the 44 Auto Mart. Officers also found drugs in his pockets. He's been charged with robbery, disorderly conduct, and possession of drugs.
A Lexington police officer resigned last month after making an Alford plea to a harassment charge. An Alford plea means he does not admit guilt, but agrees there is enough evidence for a conviction. Christina of Mount Vernon has tonight's good question. Having seen the report on Officer James Norris's Alford plea, it was reported that he's suspended with pay until Lexington police decide the future of his position. My question is, if he's suspended with pay and this decision is made to fire him, will he have to repay the money he received while suspended? For an answer to that good question, I went to the former officer's status and his salary. I contacted Lexington Police, and a spokesman with the police says that Officer Norris was initially suspended with pay back in January until the matter could be investigated. His status was changed to suspended without pay when he was administratively charged at the end of March. He's been on suspended without pay up to the point of his resignation on August 28th. Now, there is nothing in the law or regulations that covers whether a police officer must pay back salary if he or she is fired. In Norris's case, he did resign. If you have a good question, go to WKYT.com. If you're keeping track, we are just 55 days from the election. Next week, the candidates for governor will face off in a televised debate.
And Congress is back in session, facing the possibility of another government shutdown. Bill Bryant has your bottom line.
Good evening. A week from this evening, the candidates for Kentucky governor will be face-to-face for a televised debate at Bellarmine University in Louisville. It's an event to be carried by the partners of the Bluegrass poll. Republican Matt Bevin, Democrat Jack Conway, and Independent Drew Curtis will appear to answer questions from 7 until 8 p.m. that evening. WKYT News will carry it live on the CW Lexington. The candidates are expected to pick up the pace of their campaigns now that we're after Labor Day and the election is just 55 days away. Lawmakers returned to Washington today as concerns rise that there could be another government shutdown. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell of Kentucky again finds himself in the middle of what could be a brewing storm. Many conservatives are pushing for federal defunding of Planned Parenthood. That could set off a contentious debate. The deadline for a plan is September 30th, and there are only 10 legislative days to work, and that includes a first ever address to a joint session of Congress by a pope. There is more talk about regulating drones in Kentucky after one crash landed into Commonwealth Stadium minutes before the kickoff of last Saturday's game. It came a couple of weeks after another one crashed on top of the Big Blue Fifth Third building in downtown Lexington. Nobody was hurt in either case, but the unmanned devices are becoming more common as they get cheaper. Lexington leaders are considering drafting a local ordinance, and a state lawmaker is proposing regulations out of Frankfort. It appears the Kentucky School Board is on the verge of naming a new state education commissioner. Dr. Stephen Pruitt is apparently the remaining finalist, and an intense background check is underway. Pruitt is senior vice president at Achieve Incorporated, an education reform organization that he's been with since 2010. He started his career as a high school chemistry teacher. Bill Bryant, WKYT.
The Scott County Board of Education is holding a public forum tonight to talk about a new superintendent. Patricia Putty plans to retire next June, and the board would like to hear from parents about what they're looking for in a new school superintendent. Tonight's forum is at 7 o'clock at Georgetown Middle School.
Now.